Mr. Primetime. Long time no talk, man.
Too soon. And you know what? I was just getting excited for this one. I was thinking, you know what? It might be a competitive game, but at the very least, Gase would be gone afterwards. And now we got the Connor Hughes story that no matter what happens, unless it's something egregious, Gase is going to be back on Friday.
You know what? Like, you want to preview the game. Like, it's 2 0-3 teams. This is going to be awful football. Like, this game is for diehard fans because nobody else wants to watch this shit. You have a very bad Jets team, and you have a Broncos team that's decimated with injuries. That's playing their third string quarterback, where the over-under is probably like, 10 points? Like, you're looking at a 6-3, 9-6, some kind of horrible performance here. So as a Jets fan, the only glimmer of hope that we've all been talking about since Sunday is, when are we going to fire this coach? And our expectation was, listen, you can't fire him on Monday because it's too soon. You have the short bye week. You have all this week and everything else, right? So you can't do it then. So it's like, all right, Thursday night, to me, honestly, being very honest here, win or lose, Adam Gase should be fired on Friday morning, because there's two things here. If you lose to a Broncos team that is horrendous with a guy that's never played before, Brett Ripken's never played before. This guy's he's your third string quarterback. If you lose to a Broncos team that's traveling on a short week, that's decimated by injuries, that's grounds to be fired. That alone. If you win this game, it means next, because it's like you're not really proving anything. These first 3 weeks have shown you who you are. You're a very bad team that's been non-competitive. To win this game and pat yourself on the back, like, listen, we showed some progress. So now the benchmark for this team is you have to get blown out and embarrass yourself, and then we'll fire you. So you're going to mean to tell me the first 3 weeks don't count? Like, the first 3 weeks of shitty football and embarrassing yourself week in and week out, that doesn't matter. The fact that Sam played the worst game of his career last week, that doesn't matter. Now we're worried about style points of losses. And you wonder where the Jets' problem starts now? The owner's worried about style points. Losing is okay. We can lose, just not by a lot. That tells you all you need to know about this owner, dude. This is why we're the fucking Jets.
The funny thing is, this is the exact type of game that they won last year and patted themselves on the back for during that 6-2 stretch where they beat shitty teams, they beat backup quarterbacks, teams that you're expected to beat if you're a team that should be competing. So this is a game, we should win. We're getting guys back healthy this week. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be competitive. Yet if it does result in a win, we're going to keep Gase and use that as a rallying sign for what? No, the team already quit. We've seen that the first 3 weeks. This game does not change anything. This game does not change anything.
So, like, this is the stupidity of the owner. So you lose 3 games in a horrible fashion. You're going to beat a team that's destroyed by injuries on a short week playing a third-string quarterback. You're going to be proud of yourself to then watch you get your fucking doors blown off next week and then be what? All you're doing is delaying the inevitable. Adam Gase is not the future for your organization. He's destroying your quarterback. No matter what you do tomorrow night, it's not going to make any difference. He has to go immediately. Now, this article coming out is convenient because, as you know, there are some members of the media that tend to be the voice of the Jets. So now what this to me is, I have this funny feeling is this is setting the expectation up for the fans saying, listen, I know you all expect this on Friday. No, now on Wednesday, that shit ain't happening. And dude, I'm going to be out of my mind because tomorrow night, I'm like, the only thing you watch for tomorrow night, because the game's going to be terrible. In terms of quality football, there's nothing there. The only thing you watch for is Sam Darnold. What's he going to do?
See,
none of the other shit matters.
The only issue I have is that why did Colin Cowherd and Chris Mortensen then, put those statements out earlier in the week that Gase was going to be gone at the end of this week? They set the expectation. And again, I don't think those guys would have any reason to lie. They've been pretty reputable throughout most of their career. Even Colin Cowherd, he had the Brady story first when it happened. Those guys have some sources. So the idea that, all right, they just made this up, it's convenient, Gase is going to be gone. No. So they got that from somewhere, that the Jets were reaching out to agents, prospective head coaches. That came from somewhere. Okay. So the idea now that you're planting the seed that, oh, well, if we win this game, we're going to bring Gase back. No, fans aren't going to buy that shit. Fans are going to be more pissed off because they got their hopes up with the other reports from earlier in the week that he was going to be gone.
And this is why, I was torn after Sunday, because Sunday I was out of my mind. I wanted him fired immediately. I'm like, you know what? I understand the short week, so logistically it made sense to keep him in the building. But a part of me said, you know what? Fire him then so we don't have to deal with this bullshit. Because a win, the owners are like, we can't fire him off a win. Yes, you can. Because the team is not buying in. Beating the Broncos is no major accomplishment. Nothing like this is no this is the equivalent of this is being the Buffalo Bills the last week of last season when they're playing their third stringers and it didn't mean shit and they're proud of themselves and they almost lost that game. So hang on, I got to turn my air conditioning off. Hold on one second. Oh, I'm so pissed, dude.
Well, while you're doing that, I guess I'll bring up the Sam Darnold point, which you kind of touched on, which is that the longer you wait, the less opportunities you have to actually evaluate Sam in a proper offense. So I was just saying, I don't know if you heard, the longer that you wait, you kind of touched on this, the fewer opportunities that you have to get the new coach in, get that new voice in Sam's ear, and properly evaluate him the rest of the season. He's got the weapons coming back now. Exactly. He's got the weapons coming back, so that's no longer going to be an excuse for him. And that's something we've kind of disagreed on. I think these first 3 games are a terrible measuring stick if you're trying to evaluate a young quarterback. With the weapons coming back now, if you put the right voice in his ear, that's a more proper measuring stick. That's a way to at least somewhat evaluate your young quarterback. Obviously, not an ideal situation throwing somebody new mid-season, but we saw Baker Mayfield improve under Greg Williams. It can happen. You can bring somebody in, Jim Bob Cooter.
Every day, Adam Gates here hurts Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he's regressing before our very eyes. Yeah, you see it. So getting a new voice in there, it cannot hurt.
Can this ownership be any more fucked up? Seriously, can they have and this, dude, it's driving me crazy. Because I'm not looking forward to the game tomorrow night. Because as a Jets fan, when the whistle blows, you want to see him win. Obviously, you're as a nature of a fan, you want to see your team play well and win. But now it's the aftermath of winning this game is you're keeping in somebody that is destroying your team, and this owner doesn't even know how to handle it. So now looking back at it, we should have said, Sunday night they should have fired him Monday and said, I don't give a shit about the short week. We'll deal with it. Get him out of the building, and let's all move on as an organization. But now they're not going to do that. And now this is a bona fide nightmare, because, yes, they're getting Crowder back. They're getting George Fant back. Becton's going to play. So, yes, you're having your pieces here, but you're not beating a team that matters. You can't ignore what happened the first 3 weeks of the season. You know what I mean? So this all this is a little speed bump. Okay, well, now we beat a Broncos team. Okay, and now what? So now you're going to lose how many more in a row going after this? 5, 6, 7 in a row?
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest fear of Jet fans right now is that this game will be touted as, a game that, Gase got the players to buy in, got them motivated, got them hungry. No, these players have a lot of pride. A lot of them are playing for contracts. So it wouldn't be surprising if the Jets actually beat them or at least they're competitive in this game. But to use that as your measuring stick for Adam Gase to say, yeah, you know what, that's progress. No, we saw this exact same thing last year against inferior opponents. It doesn't change anything as far as what he is.
Dude, and listen, this is from Ben Albright, who covers the Broncos. Listen to the team that they're playing against. Look at what they're missing. The Denver Broncos are missing quarterback 1, the first string running back, the first string receiver. They're onto their third string right tackle, the defensive end, Von Miller, the third and fourth string defensive ends out, the outside linebackers out, the 2 inside linebackers are out. The first string cornerback is out. Look at all these injuries, dude. This is similar to playing like the San Francisco 49ers. They are decimated. All their top playmakers are out. Sure, they have Jerry Jeudy and they have Melvin Gordon. Yep. Look what you're playing against. And to have a mindset to even going in, well, you know what? If they win this game, he has to stay. Why? If they play close and lose, he has to stay. Why? First of all, accepting losing, so then you're 0-4, and you're losing to a team that you have no right even losing to. That's acceptable too? How is that possible? That's unfathomable, dude. There's no way. A Jets ownership, at some point, your culture should be, we demand better. It should be win the game by 14 or 17 points, or you have to go. And let's not ignore what happened the last 3 weeks.
And that's the biggest problem when your owner decides to come out and make a stupid ass fucking statement after the first game of the season, because now he put himself in a corner where 2 weeks later, what's he going to go back on his word?
He's worried about his image now.
Exactly, and that's all it is. All these whispers, about Gase potentially being fired, we know what's going on, what's being said within the walls of that organization. All right, around one Jets drive, most people in that building know Gase needs to go. But at this point, doing it 2 weeks after your owner just gave him a vote of confidence, just called him an offensive brilliant mind, you look like a jackass. Not that you don't always, regardless. But again, learn from what you did a year and a half ago when you fired your GM 3 months too late after letting him run your offseason. Learn from that and don't ruin your fucking quarterback. Don't make this decision too late.
Can you imagine being the New York Jets, winning this game tomorrow night and being proud of yourself? We're resilient. We bounce back. No, you didn't, dude.
They will be. They will be.
This is going to be there's nothing positive coming out of this game. They win this game, it's nothing positive. You like, dude, we're delaying the inevitable. They lose, you're embarrassed. We're already embarrassed at 0-3. We're one of the worst teams of football. And man, like this is just, it's sickening, man. And it's like, you can't even sell the game. Like, who the hell wants to watch this? I don't want to watch it. Like, I already fear what's going to happen. And then the worst thing is, could you imagine if Sam plays poorly tomorrow night? Could you even imagine? So if Sam plays poorly tomorrow night, but the Jets win, or if they lose closely, that's going to be okay, right? Like, is that what is this? Like, what is the standard for the New York Jets? Like, what is their hierarchy think? Like, what do we expect on a week in and week out basis? Is it just show up, just collect the check? Like, is being competitive not enough anymore? Like, what do we have to expect here now?
That's the quote directly from Chris Johnson. I just hope the team shows up. He said that, what was it, in Miami last year?
That's what he said.
So that tells you all you need to know as far as what the expectations are within that building. They aren't very high, and there's a reason for it, because we've been shit for a decade now, and that, again, it starts from ownership, goes down to the GM and all the head coaches we brought in. It's been a disaster.
So if you try to even do kind of any kind of X's and O's in this game, which I really don't feel like doing, because I think it's just this game's a disgrace, to be honest with you. You look at the Jets are getting their players back. You're getting Crowder back. You have Herndon. You have all these guys. Your offensive line's back intact, and you're playing against the Broncos team that's. I mean, dude, the Jets should win this game. And like I understand they're underdogs by 2 points, whatever it is. That's because the whole league, everybody but Chris Johnson realizes the Jets suck and they're going in the wrong direction. But to me, the Jets should be like a 5 or 6 point favorite. They should win this game. They should. Yeah. And that should be ownership. They should all think that and assume that. Like, you know what? We're going to play like favorites, act like favorites, come out with some kind of identity, come out with some kind of attitude, and actually show some kind of spirit and fight. And if they don't do that and they win a squeaker, that's going to be okay too. Like, I just don't understand it, man. I don't understand it.
There's almost no good outcome that can really come from this, barring, a blowout loss, which actually gets Gase out of here. Anything close, they probably will, unfortunately, tout as progress, as moving in the right direction, because we saw it again last year. So, again, I have some concerns as far as, the Jets actually winning the game, whether or not they can keep up with guys like Jerry Jeudy and Melvin Gordon. But, even breaking down the X's and O's, like you just said, it's so hard to get into it, because what are we rooting for exactly?
Of all games, of all weeks to play the Broncos, like if you look at their entire schedule, the only team right now you want them to play is the Broncos. You want them to play anybody else but them, dude. Because you know what? If they played anybody else in their schedule, Seahawks, Chiefs, Patriots, even the Dolphins, anybody else, Gase would be fired Friday morning. And that's what pisses me off. It's just it's the wrong opponent at the wrong time to get done what we want to get done. Because if they were playing the Patriots Thursday night, dude, and they lost by 45, guess what? Gase is fired. They play anybody else but the Broncos, he's fired on Friday. But our luck is they're playing them. So we're going to buy what, another 10 days of this clown to let him just destroy Sam Darnold for another 10 days?
The only glimmer of hope, I guess, is the short week, not being able to prepare for a quarterback that you haven't seen, that doesn't really have a whole lot of game tape on him.
I mean, if Greg Williams can't get to this kid and they can't do anything on defense now, he should fire his ass too. I mean, seriously, dude, like, I'm so tired of excuses for this team. This is a game where you come in with no excuses. You're getting all your guys back. I understand Jordan Jacobs is banged up. Some guys are banged up. But, dude, come on, man. Like, if there's no way that you walk in this game and say, you know what, there's no mismatches. There's no overmatching anywhere. The Jets should win this game. And if they come out with no fight, no spirit, and it's one of those, they're down 10-0 in the first quarter, those kind of performances, I mean, it's inexcusable. Like, it's just, I don't know. I'm disgusted, man. I can't take it.
I was actually looking forward to the game until the report came out from Connor Hughes, because I did feel like earlier in the week that no matter what happened, that ownership was finally starting to wake up to everything that's being said, that every analyst out there is now finally saying, which is that this coach is incompetent. All the same red flags for Miami are happening again here. His offense is ranked last in almost every single possible category. What more do you need to see from your young quarterback? He is regressing. We've talked about it every single week now. He's going backwards. You can't allow that to continue to happen. You still have, 3/4 of a season left where you could try to salvage something and get some answers going into the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, to win, just say in theory they win tomorrow night 21-10, that proves nothing, because the following week they're like the opponent tomorrow night doesn't matter. It doesn't really, it's not an indictment of what they're doing or where they're going. Like, the answer is obvious to everybody that has any kind of brain that Adam Gase needs to go as soon as possible. So to me, win or lose Friday morning, the answer is he has to go. And then you say, here, Jim Bob Cooter and this and that. And the one thing that I've noticed already is, Brian Costello started already too. Well, the predicament the Jets have if they did fire him, there's a mindset they're trying to sell the fans, which is never going to sell if we're just too smart for them at this point. is that, firing Adam Gase will set the team back. No, because actually Adam Gase has a staff that has a lot of former head coaches on it. So the transition won't be nowhere near as hard as you think it's going to be, especially coming off you have a long week. So you can make all kinds of changes. And to be honest with you, Joe Douglas, if he's worth anything, already has his plan written out. Like, listen, if you have the oh shit plan, well, guess what? Your oh shit plan's happening right now. So we need to get him out of here. And here's how we're going to put it all through. Here's all the changes I make, and we move forward. It's not a hard thing to do, man, especially on a long week.
So, I mean, getting somewhat off topic, I assume that you think that if Gase does indeed get fired, that the replacement's going to come within, right?
Absolutely. No doubt about it.
You don't think there's any chance they could, persuade a Bieniemy midseason? I doubt they could, but if it came, so if you presented a contract with him, we're going to pay you the average salary of the top 10 head coaches.
You can't even interview him right now, dude. You can't interview guys during the season like that.
Again, I don't know exactly how it works. If you were willing to give the Chiefs a draft pick, they wouldn't allow that if you had their permission.
I don't think you do the midseason like this, man. There's all kinds of rules against that. That's why look at all playoff rules. When he makes the playoffs, you can't interview him unless it's on a bye week and all this other stuff. Like, you can't do it midseason, but it's fine. Like, you could say, listen,
because my whole thing really quick was that at the end of the season, if he's your top guy, let's say right now, and you think, okay, that's the guy we want to get. Well, at the end of the season, there's going to be 4, 5, 6 openings that he's going to be able to choose from. Are the Jets going to be at the top of that list? Probably not. Nope. So you're going to have to give up, or you're going to have to pay a significant amount more of the Jets tax that we always talk about if you want to get him. So right now, exactly. So right now, I don't know if it's feasible, but if there was any way that you can bring in somebody from outside the organization that you have at the top of your list, you should be trying to do it.
Only unemployed guys. Like, remember last year how Mike McCarthy was out of football? A guy like that you could do because he's not currently in the NFL.
And that's what I worry about at the end of the year. Who's the big name that we're bringing in? Who's coming?
There's so many X factors. Then it's like, how many coaches get fired? How many coaches resign? Can you trade for a coach? Any college coaches that want to come up that never wanted to before? There's so many different options that you could pursue. And then there's the whole Bieniemy thing, and then it's like, how much will the Jets pay? There's so many different things that go into that. But for me now, that having Jim Bob Cooter in Sam Darnold's ear, just that different voice where he's playing with some confidence will pay such dividends, dude. Like that's right now. Like, we talked about this last night, and thank you to everybody listening last night to our show. That was probably one of the wildest shows we've ever had in the history of our show. So we want to, thank you for guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll answer all your questions in a couple minutes, but now it's about finding what you have in Sam Darnold, letting him get his mojo back, let him get his swagger back, let him get his confidence back. I mean, every person, like Keyshawn Johnson did a big thing on today. Listen, this kid's demoralized. He's completely defeated now. So what is keeping Adam Gase going to do? Adam Gase isn't helping him because he's getting worse each week. So if he gives you a glimmer of hope tomorrow night when they're playing against a really, really bad team, and then the next week after that they get blown out again, how does that change anything?
Yeah, and
it's history repeating itself. Like we know what's going to happen. We saw it last year. We're seeing it this year. Like, we know it's fait accompli here. Like, Gase has to go. Own your mistake now. You doubled down 2 weeks ago, which was stupid. But now, as an owner, cut your loss. Like, save your quarterback before you set him back even further to the chance where, he may be gone. Because he may be like, you may just put him to the point where the kid's like, we may want to keep him. He may, I want out of here. You know what I mean?
He may go the Jamal route. Yeah, exactly. And what's sad is that, when he's coming off the field almost every single time, he makes a bad throw or throws an interception, there's nobody there to mentor him. There's nobody there picking him up in his ear, coaching him up. You don't see Gase doing that. And that's what drives me nuts more than anything else. And so Jim Bob Cooter, who's done some good things with Stafford and the Lions before, why the hell not? What do we have to lose by it? He's not going to get worse. He's not going to regress even further. He's hit rock bottom under Gase. So get a new voice in his ear, see what he could do.
So we're gonna go to a bunch of questions. Like I said, we usually do our game previews. If you watch our shows in the past, we actually do a lot of X's and O's and break down matchups. This one, honestly, don't really have the energy to do that because look what we're dealing with here. Two horrendous teams decimated by injuries with a coach that should be fired already. So, I mean, this is just, in terms of Jets, they're much healthier now with Fant back. You have both your tackles back. I assume McGovern's going to play again, which was good. Getting Crowder back has one, help. Even though Chris Hogan's hurt, which is whatever. So, first comment of the night. This might be the first time ever that I actually root for our Jets to lose. A loss tomorrow may actually be a victory down the road. But see, now the thing is, how bad do they have to lose? Is it lose 24-21? Or is that to be an ass kicking where it's 28-3 and we all turn the game off in the third quarter?
Considering
Now we're worried about quality of losses now with this owner.
Considering the state of the Broncos roster and the fact that the Jets are getting some pieces back healthy, they have their quarterback out there. If you lose this game, period, I don't care if it's by 1 point or if it's by 20, Gase should be gone, period.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Like this is a game, in my opinion, they should win. You have your pieces back. Yeah. You have Crowder back. You have Herndon. You have the running backs that Gase apparently likes, right? These are all his guys now, right?
Yeah.
Like this Hogan, Barrios, these are all his guys. These are the ones they liked.
Yeah. And while we're on that comment, real quick for the next one, like spare me the bullshit that, a true fan doesn't root for losses. Listen, I want to see this team. The long term is what's more important. Getting Gase out of here, getting a new voice in Sam's ear, getting a true evaluation on him. That's what is most important. So saying that somebody's not a true fan because they want this team to lose on Thursday to just get the process over with, I don't see anything wrong with that. Nobody's convinced the Jets are doing anything this season. Rooting for a win changes nothing. It just delays the inevitable.
Yeah, I got that a lot last night too. How can you root for, listen, if you can guarantee me a loss gets Gase fired, I would get blown up by 80 and I will endure it just because I know now this season now is about the big picture. Like the whole playoff thing's out the window, being competitive, the division, all that shit's way long gone now. We know where we are now. We are a true rebuild where we have 5 million more questions than answers. And now it's about finding leadership and ownership going forward, like a management, coaching, all this to get us going forward because we're a mess. We are a rudderless ship right now. So a loss, if it means getting this clown out of here, fine. Like right now you watch the game, make sure Sam leaves the game upright and his arm is still on his shoulder. So
yeah, and with a lot of guys coming back healthy, that could be the rallying cry that kind of motivates this team going forward towards the end of the year to actually do some things and play hard and show a little bit of progress.
Next comment: we about to get blown out on primetime TV against a third string quarterback. You know what? I mean, this to be honest with you, if Greg Williams and his defense can't stifle this offense, I mean, give me a break, man. I mean, that would show you this team truly quit because the Jets have enough talent on defense to at least keep this game competitive and should win the game. I mean, seriously.
I still worry about Judy and Gordon. I mean, those are probably the two best playmakers that are going to be on the field tomorrow, period, on both rosters. So, we could say what we want about the quarterback, but they're also, again, like I said earlier, there's not really a whole lot of film. And, he's got some decent tape from going back to college. Doesn't really have a strong arm or anything, but, he's a smart quarterback. He can go through his reads. It's going to be interesting to see what Greg Williams tries to do.
Yeah, I mean, what you got to say is you want to see Quinn Williams, come out of, last week, kind of invisible, him and Henry Anderson, like all these guys that are getting paid all this big money here. Like, how about this week? You earn your paycheck this time because now it's another good week of practice, which is 2 days, and we have our coaches back and all this other nonsense of trying to sell us. Then how about you show it? Like the whole thing is like once you get Gase out of here, which can be if not this week, probably at the next blowout loss, which is next week. Then it's like okay, now the guys on the field, are you going to be part of the solution or part of the problem? Because then when you have a new guy here, you're being evaluated for: are we going to re-sign you next year? Are we keeping you? Are you not? Bradley McDougald. All these other guys, like, who are you then? Because you weren't competing the first 3 weeks. Are you going to open up your eyes now and actually do something? Or are you going to be on your way out too? Because we have a lot of 1-year contracts, a lot of guys playing for stuff, which we thought was an advantage. We said, oh, you know what? They're going to have a little chip on their shoulder. They're going to play. They don't have to because nobody holds them accountable. Nobody holds them accountable. But maybe when they fire the coach and that kind of ruffles some feathers and then say Greg Williams is the head coach, he's going to put a fire under their ass. Like, listen, if you don't do something, you're benched. Something Adam Gase won't do.
Benched or cut. Like we've been talking about with this year.
I wish they did something like that.
Yeah, at this point, for the money that he's making, for the effort that he's given on some tackles, make a statement.
Yeah, so we got a lot of comments about this. Connor Hughes said the Jets need to be blown out for Gase to be fired. I don't know what to think of this. There's a couple different ways to handle that. And the first one is the Jets use certain members of the media as puppets to spew out their message, to almost set the expectation now that we don't, to not expect certain things. So do we believe him or do we believe, like you said earlier, Chris Mortensen, the other guy saying, listen, Gase is on a hot seat. They lose Thursday night. He's gone. I mean, I'm starting to worry that Connor Hughes reported it because he seems to be kind of the guy that always kind of spews the Jets little mantra there from Adam Gase. And I mean, dude,
what I'm thinking is that the Jets thought they were being slick, and this is based on nothing, but I think the Jets thought they were being slick, tried to reach out to a few agents under the table without, it really being reported. And it leaked out, and now they're in damage control. And now they're trying to, erase some of those reports that are Gase is out the door and at least get this team to be motivated for tomorrow night and not have them thinking that they're playing for a lame duck coach.
Yeah, I mean, that could be. I mean, trying to rally the troops. They don't get embarrassed on primetime television and everything else. But the problem I think we have, too, to be completely honest, is we don't have any faith in ownership. Like, they're this incompetent. Like this comment from Joe Smith. This is disturbing. The ownership is this incompetent. And that's the truth. Like, they've proven it over and over. They don't know how to handle anything. Like, in theory, they should have fired him 2 weeks ago. They could have fired him last week. They could have fired him Monday. And now, if they keep him now,
yeah, and
you have no faith in them.
And we've had numerous calls mention this. The fact that Chris Johnson did what he did with Maccagnan, let him go through, spending $100 million, going through that draft process, and then you fire him weeks later, and you acknowledge, I made the wrong mistake. I made the wrong decision there. I acted too late. You acknowledged it, yet right before our very eyes, right now, you're doing the exact same thing. You don't see what everybody else is seeing in Adam Gase. You're the only one that's still blind to what is fact about his offense. It's been terrible, and nobody buys into his shit. Nobody.
And the other thing what you think about, and this is a funny comment. I'll put this one up there. Joe and Evan, Ty and Kevin has a better ring to it. Thank you, Clutch Canuck. The other thing which we touched on last night is, where is Joe Douglas in all of this? Like, we're blasting ownership because they are incompetent, and they've proven that over the years they just don't know their ass from their elbow. But where does Joe Douglas stand in this after watching his team non-competitive for 3 weeks? Does he sit here and say, thank you, can I have another? Because he has no power? Or does he go in the office and say, listen, man, we have a serious problem here. The quarterback that I came here to build my team around is playing worse than I've ever seen him play before. It's a legitimate problem. And my team's not competing because it's his team too. My team is not competing. How are we as an organization going to handle this? Does he say that? Or does he sit there in his office and say, you know what? Not my problem. That's the coach's problem. I just get players. Meanwhile, half of them are hurt, but that's a whole other story.
No, and I saw one comment that was kind of ripping both of us, for, what is Joe Douglas supposed to do? What do you expect him to do when his top 5 wide receivers are out? I can almost understand that. He didn't expect, Sam Darnold to be throwing to the weapons that he's throwing to right now. That's fair. But for 7 months, we both said what you did at wide receiver was not enough. So it's not exactly second guessing at this point. And I think it's fair to criticize a lot of the decisions that he's made in his first year and a half. It's also fair to give him, the opportunity to, actually build this thing the right way that he wants to, building through the draft. But the biggest problem is that he's aligning himself with Gase right now. He's not separating himself from a losing culture. If you're all about culture and bringing in winning guys and establishing that winning culture within this organization, you have to separate from what Adam Gase is. Otherwise, you're going to go down with him.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. And like, the one guy last night tore me to shreds about how can you question Joe Douglas? I have no problem questioning him. Perryman's not playing. Pierre Desir's been a complete disaster. His entire draft class is hurt, minus 2 players. Like, a lot of his fixes to the problems aren't working out. So yes, he got Becton. Okay, you got a left tackle. That's a good sign. That's a good piece. But you're rebuilding your entire roster. So if you only get one guy for your whole class, and the punter. I'm sorry. So you look at that. But now I have a lot of questions about Joe Douglas, dude. Like, I want to know what the power structure is here. What kind of say does he have? He's bringing in players that are clearly Gase guys, which is whatever.
The same way that Gase seized his power and got rid of the GM that brought him in, Joe Douglas needs to do the same thing right now. Power is up for grabs. He can take it. Yep. He can take as much as he wants right now because who else is the football mind in that organization? Nobody. So if there's anybody that knows football that can make a statement to the media, to ownership, that, I need to be the one that's picking the next head coach, that I'm not going to align myself with Adam Gase anymore. We need to get him out of here, get rid of the losing culture. Joe Douglas is the guy to do it. He needs to step up.
What was his exact words? The best culture in sports. That was his goal, right? To have the best culture in sports. That's what he's bringing to this team. Right now, their culture is justifying losing and making excuses. And now, I'm telling you, dude, this post-game show tomorrow night, if they lose and don't fire this clown Friday morning, our show tomorrow night and Friday, just batten down the hatches. Because it's going to be a lot of alcohol and a lot of cursing. It's not going to be out of my mind. Because now we know that Gase has way too much power and way too much say in the organization, and the owner is just so far in his head, he doesn't know what he's doing. And Joe Douglas is spineless then. You know what I mean? Like, geez, I don't know.
I'm psyched for Friday's show. Gase is still here.
So next comment, win or lose, the Jets need to fire Gase. They have to look at the beginning of last season and the beginning of these first 3 games. Exactly. Look at the play. Like, he was brought in to bring in his innovative offense and to make offense and make Sam better. Neither has happened. Not to mention that your defense, like the one thing we forget is that Gase is the head coach of the entire team. Okay, so your offense has been shit. Guess what? Your defense has been just as bad, if not worse. So now your team, offense and defense, is amongst the worst in football. That's it. Like, there's not one bright side to this. There's not one facet of this team where you're like, wow, this is a good part. Like this is going well. What's going well, Primetime? was not one thing on the team going well.
And that is part of what drove Rex Ryan and Todd Bowles out of town, was that they were just, one side of the ball. And again, to me, it's also, it's beyond just these first 3 games and even last season. If this was a new head coach, a year and 3 games in, probably not enough time to really evaluate him, especially with the roster that he was given. Probably not enough time. But when all of the same red flags are coming over from Miami, you're alienating your star players. Nobody's playing hard for you. It's all double-digit losses, non-competitive. Yep. Every single red flag for Miami. He's got 30 wins as a head coach. He's got 30 double-digit losses. Your teams aren't playing hard for you. It's a fact. It's a 5-year sample, not just a year and 3 games.
This may be the first time, it's probably as long as I can remember, maybe the Buffalo game last year, was they're going to win a game and I'm going to be angry about it. Because the aftermath of winning. And that's the next comment. Annoyingly for even Jets fans, they're going to scrape out a win on Thursday night. And are you going to is there any Jets fan, if they win tomorrow night and say in convincing 27-10 or 24-20 or whatever, is there any Jets fan going to be actually happy about that? Or you're you know what? This means this clown's going to be here for 2 more weeks, right?
If Sam plays well, I'll be happy for him. And if there's some other young guys that step up, you're happy for them as individual players. But as far as the long-term outlook of the team, delaying the inevitable of getting Gase out of here is much worse, and that hurts us long term.
Next comment: Jets are going to win tomorrow night. Then in week 5, they're getting all their players back from injury, and that's going to be the selling point. The problem that you're going to have, not problem, but they're going to say they win tomorrow night. Now we're playing hard for a coach. We're on the back. We're resilient. We overcame adversity. Right? That's going to be the speech, dude. You can hear. I can give you Adam Gase's press conference before he even does it himself. I already know the speech. That's what they're going to tell us. We're going to ignore the fact, the quality of opponent and all the things that are going into it, how, third string quarterback, they're missing 5 of their best players and all this other stuff. We're going to ignore all that and just pat ourselves on the back. Like, you know what? We got our coaches back, man. We turn things around.
We know it's going to happen too. And God, it's sad.
So we'll keep going. JK Thugs. Sup, fellas? What's up, man?
Dude?
Thanks for all your comments, man. We appreciate it. The writing is on the wall. Someone wants riots. I mean, this ownership is so far out of touch with the fan base and everything that's going on. And it's amazing that everybody, not just us, like Dan Orlovsky, Keyshawn, every prominent person all throughout the NFL, all the analysts, all the experts are saying this guy has to go. Like it's obvious what has to happen here. And the fact that we're the night before the game, this story's coming out is already a hint. That means they're not going to do it. And they want to brace us for it. And they're lucky that fans can't attend these games because it would be a complete disaster.
If fans were in the building tomorrow night, I think they would have to react on Friday morning because they wouldn't tolerate the loss on primetime plus being embarrassed in their own building with fans, chanting the fire Gase stuff. There was about 20 fans in Indy that got a fire Gase chant going. You don't think that a few thousand at MetLife would get that going tomorrow night? Dude, it would be an embarrassment.
Yeah, so it's ironic that this is one game I won't be mad if the players mail it in and get their doors blown off. Gase has to go. You know what? And there's a part of me that wonders, I understand a professional athlete, your goal is to be as competitive as possible, always play your best game, this and that. But you wonder if there's a part of the locker room is you know what? They kind of know, listen, if we mail this win, if we don't give it, if we lose this game big time, this coach is probably gone. You wonder how many had that in the back of their head. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of them do. I think a lot of them have already started to make business decisions. And it was even Colin Cowherd who brought it up with the rash of injuries that face Adam Gase's teams. Eventually, at some point, you wonder, are these guys really motivated to go out there and fight through an injury for him and play for him and risk their career, risk a payday for Adam Gase? And, again, we talked about CJ Mosley. I get it if he made his decision to opt out for family reasons. He has every right to do that. Or maybe he saw some of the things that Jamal Adams saw, that this team was, going down the shitter, and he just wanted nothing to do with this season. And Adam Gase, who was going to be a lame duck coach. I mean, it's so hard to figure out, if these players are actually motivated for him, and I don't think they are.
Yep. Jets will win and Gase will stay. I think all Jet fans are starting to feel this. I mean, I hope we get blown out so there's no choice but to fire Gase. And that's kind of the mindset a lot of people have. You don't want to think like that, but it's like you almost want that. You want to see a complete debacle. I would be willing to endure a complete embarrassment tomorrow night where they're just getting missed tackles and just everything just goes to just shit. I'll take that one night of embarrassment to have him gone Friday morning. I'll endure that. I'm willing to take that one. Let all the fans mock us, write all the articles you want. I don't even care. They can get Gase out the door, and I'm cool with it. I'll take that pain because we've already been embarrassed for 3 weeks. What's one more week? What's one more night? We were embarrassed last year with the ghost game against the Patriots. A primetime embarrassment is nothing new to Jets fans. We've endured enough of them to be okay with one more to get rid of this clown.
Yeah, a primetime embarrassment is probably what's actually needed to get Chris Johnson to put his ego aside, admit that he was wrong, and make the decision to move on.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Stephen Engel here is, I guess, maybe one of Adam Gase's biggest supporters, something like that. Everybody coming back week 5 doesn't really mean shit to me because I don't have any faith in Adam Gase doing anything with them. So if everything's back is great. If anything, I want to see everybody back with a different coach in place to see if Jim Bob Cooter or Greg Williams can actually maximize those guys and push in a different direction for the rest of the season.
My problem is, even with everybody back, what is the ceiling for Adam Gase as a head coach? Is he going to outduel Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Harbaugh, Tomlin, all these great coaches in the AFC? Is he going to win a playoff game against those guys? No, he's not. With a stacked roster, he's not beating those coaches in a playoff game.
He's not a winning coach.
Exactly. So we know that already. So these meaningless wins, potentially against the Broncos and a beat up team, what does it do? All it does is delay the inevitable. He's got to go. So yeah, a loss this week, it serves a very valuable purpose. And week 5, everybody coming back, that's their rallying cry. New head coach, new voice, new opportunities.
And the other message it does, and I talked about this endlessly, so I'm repeating myself, I don't care, is accountability. Yeah. Ownership comes in and says, listen, these last 3 weeks are not acceptable. What's going on in our facility, which is obviously a litany of things, whether it's players not practicing hard, guys being late to meetings, whatever the hell it is, it's not working for us, and we're not going to accept, we're done. So it's going to change today. Coach is out, and if you don't do your job, you're out as well, because they haven't done that yet. Like, nobody's scared to be in that building right now. Nobody's scared to play like shit. Like, it's okay. Like, it's a losing culture. You play like shit, you get paid. You play good. Like, there's nothing scaring them. You fired a coach. That's the first hammer. Second thing is, if you don't play well, you're not playing no more. You're out of here. That's how you change your culture. And that's what Joe Douglas should be involved as well. Like, establish your presence.
And that's what I don't think they understand. Like, the fans and everybody else, like, they're going to buy in. Like, because we always do. Whoever the new head coach is, we're going to give that guy a grace period. We're going to buy in. We're looking for somebody to believe in. Yep. This would be a positive for the organization. All the negative bashing that they're getting from every outlet in the media, this is the chance to kind of get rid of it, and rightfully so, because your head coach has not proven a damn thing.
Yep. Listen, I agree. Next comment: we should all take shots tomorrow post game if the Jets get blown out. I have a message for you, Capel. Is if the Jets are getting blown out, the shots are going to happen during the game, and then our post game show is going to be a complete fiasco. So don't worry about that.
I think we should start every post game with the number of shots for the Jets' losses. So 4 losses, we're taking 4 shots to start the show, and we continue that throughout the season, and we see how these shows go.
I get a feeling Jets win this game 17-14, and I think that's the feeling. Yeah, I had the same feeling too. I think the Jets are going to they're in better position to win this game, based on all the injuries and everything going into it. I just think they are, especially it's a third string quarterback, man. I mean, it's just, I can't believe this. My favorite Jets show, you guys tell it how it is. We appreciate that. As you guys can tell, if you're new to this show, is we don't have any filters. We kind of let it fly. Like, we're not experts. We don't give you a lot of X's and O's. We just give you our opinions. We let you guys share your mind too. And that's just the kind of way it works. So.
And that's what's most enjoyable about it, trying to have the filters and, be PG, and when certain things are going on. No, we're going to tell it exactly how it is. We're not going to hold back on these things because you guys deserve better than that.
Yeah. And with Denver, Denver being favored by 3 is pretty wild. I just, there's such low disregard for the Jets right now. It's comical at this point.
Well, the line is sometimes dictated by where the public is throwing their money, and the Jets being the laughing stock that they are, everybody's probably going to be throwing their money on Denver, regardless of who the quarterback is. And, being a home dog, I think that's actually, a solid bet in the Jets' favor. I think the line's actually moved a little bit, a couple points over the last few days. So it's going to be interesting to see tomorrow night what it actually is.
Yeah, I get this weird feeling, and I don't know why, but I get this weird feeling that Blake Bortles makes an appearance and beats us. I don't know why. Like, I'm kind of, maybe I have a sick part of me is rooting for that, but I just had this weird, something's going to happen with it. The Johnsons are laughing. I mean,
at what?
Yeah, I mean, they can't be laughing too much because right now they're the laughing stock of the NFL, and their fan base, like, if they had to sell tickets right now, they couldn't sell one. Like, people, if anything, would be giving up their PSLs. They'd be, like, right now, you can't even sell a jersey other than Becton. Who's buying a jersey right now? You couldn't even market. Like, their marketing team right now is struggling. Like, and they're even more tone deaf. Talk about a bunch of clowns. Do they realize they're 0-3 and like they're one of the worst teams in football? The things they're trying to produce right now.
The problem is they don't care because the new uniforms last year made them what, like $500 million? I think that was the number that came out. Everybody and their mother bought a new jersey last year.
Yes,
they all got their Sam Darnold, their Jamal. I got both. I got the Jamal in white, the Sam Darnold in black. We all bought our new jerseys, so they made a ton of money on that. So what do they care right now? Yep. No fans in the stands. Nobody buying jerseys. Doesn't matter. They made a fortune last year.
They sure did. They absolutely did. Next comment, fear of the fans. Jets win tomorrow and Gase stays. The owner and front office think it's a moral victory and things will turn around. The team will learn nothing. They're like the Mets. Luckily, I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a Yankee fan too, Luca, and they won last night, and that was awesome. They're in a rain delay tonight. That is the biggest concern out of all of this is them winning, and then they're talking about resilient bouncing back, and they're saying the same thing some of you guys are saying is, oh, they're getting their players back. Well, Perryman will be back. Le'Veon Bell's coming back. Like, you have all these guys coming back, but, like, let's not forget when they were here, Gase couldn't put an offense together with them. Like, Denzel Mims coming back is not really meaning anything to me because he hasn't done nothing yet. He barely even practiced. For him to learn the offense, learn the speed of the game, all this stuff, I mean, to expect anything out of him this year is ludicrous.
You're right, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on him because there are a ton of rookie wideouts that are doing a lot of things right now. I mean, you saw Justin Jefferson, for Minnesota, put up 175 yards and a touchdown. We're going to be seeing Judy on Thursday. We all know what CeeDee Lamb is. A few others out there, Brandon Ayuk with the Niners. Yep. So many wide receivers, even Gabe Davis, with the Bills, mid-round pick.
I've heard about him endlessly.
Exactly. So many guys out there, and we all knew going into the draft, our biggest need was still to address the wide receiver position, and all we got was Mims. So now there's a ton of pressure on him when he does get back to put up some numbers. This
is a great comment here. Gase is coaching for his job. I bet he opens the playbook up like we've never seen. Then we keep him, and then we get the same shit again. And you know what? And that's funny because you know what? He'll probably have the confidence to call some of his plays against a defense that's decimated by injuries, but you call that against the Cardinals, and they'll get the play shoved right up his ass. So, you know what? It probably wouldn't surprise me. Primetime television, he does all this stuff. He gets a little fancy. Then he gets arrogant and smug, like, yeah, this is what I can bring to the table. And then next week, we're back to second. Did you see that stat, by the way? The running on second and long?
Oh, my God. Yep.
The Jets are worse in the NFL in running on second and long.
I mean, it's not a surprise. We see it and we tweet about it every play. But that comment's very interesting about Gase opening up the playbook because the Broncos defense is 7th against the run and they're the 4th worst against the pass. So what do you think the game plan should be? It should be to open things up. Yep. Yet, your wide receivers have been, kind of decimated. You might have Crowder back, which is fine. But, just based off the last 2 weeks, we've been running the ball almost the same amount that we've been passing it. Yep. This is the perfect opportunity, you would think, to really open things up. I just don't know if Gase is going to do that. Going up against a backup quarterback, he might try to keep this a low-scoring game and try to squeak one out that way and do things the way he's been doing it because that's who Gase is.
He's too arrogant.
He's never shown any sign of trying to change.
No, he's an arrogant play caller, man. Like, to me, like, you want to start incorporating some speed into your offense. Like, P. Ryan should get a lot more run. Like, you should get all these explosive guys the ball in their hands. But that, that's just too much common sense, I guess. Yeah. We're not getting off this ride that easy. Jets will win. They will act like things are changing and we'll continue on this carousel until another loss. That's a concern. Like, to drag this on 2 more weeks is just the worst thing that can happen for this organization because the signs are all there. The red flags are there. We saw them this year. We saw them, last year. We saw them. Like, everybody knows. Like, there's no secret here, right? Like, I can't fathom him being the coach on Friday. I can't even fathom it at this point.
I couldn't either at the start of the week, and now with the report from Connor Hughes today, I'm definitely nervous. I'm definitely nervous going into tomorrow. It's hard to root for anything positive to really happen if it's going to mean that ownership is going to view that as progress.
Next comment is the firing has to come from Woody. JD and Christopher are too close to the situation. I think the problem with Christopher is that he doubled down 2 weeks ago, and he's going to look like a complete fool. Which isn't the first time he's done it before. He looks like a fool, but that is anything is a problem because what's going to happen is they're going to say, you just told us 2 weeks ago that this guy is brilliant. You believe in him and that he's the right guy for your team and everything else. And now 2 losses later, and if they possibly win, he can even handle that media pressure.
But why is Joe Douglas too close to the situation? That's what I don't understand.
This is Joe Douglas. To me, it's Joe Douglas's job. Like, this is his job to say, you know what, my coach, my friend, I don't care if he's his neighbor, is not doing his job correctly. He should be fired.
Exactly. Because again, if you get fired as a GM in this league, not that that's going to happen anytime soon. Douglas is here for 6 years. He's going to be here for most of that time. But if you get fired as a GM, you don't typically get a second opportunity. That happens very rare, especially if you don't win anything. So him wasting all this time with Adam Gase, and the losing culture that we're already seeing right now, he should be doing everything he can to distance himself as far as possible from the
firing
perception
Gase
of
benefits
Gase.
him too.
Exactly.
Like, firing
He'll be
Gase
a
benefits
savior.
him too.
He'll be a savior.
But he's also, you're helping establish your culture of accountability. Like, listen, like, this was my friend, but he's failing. So I got rid of him. And if you don't do your job, you'll be gone too. Like, somebody had to put this message in the, like, that's how you establish truly culture here. Not watching guys not compete for 3 weeks. You know, like, to beat a bad team and be proud of it is embarrassing. Like, this is not, you haven't changed a damn thing. And Joe Douglas has to be a part of it. Like, right now, I agree with you, dude. He's part of the problem, like allowing all this to happen and nothing changing. Nobody getting cut, nobody getting fired. Like, it's status quo. Like, how do you have an organization where you've been bad, like epically bad for 3 weeks and not one change is made? Like, it's cool. No big deal.
The only way I would change my stance a little bit on that is if Gase indeed does get fired on Friday, and that happened in part because Joe Douglas did open his mouth to ownership and say, you know what, I understand that you just gave him the vote of confidence 2 weeks ago, but what we're seeing here, me and my staff, we're not impressed at all. We need to move in a different direction. We need to separate from this because this is not what the fans want to see. This is not winning football. This is not the winning culture that we're trying to bring.
Yep. No. And so next comment is Herndon is so unproven. And that's a fact. I mean, we went into this season where almost every game we're like, you know what, especially with all the injuries at wide receiver, that you're going to feature Chris Herndon. He's a mismatch with linebackers and safeties. He could spread the field. He could do a lot of things. Great athlete. He had an excellent mini training camp. Gase was just raving about him almost every day, and he's done nothing. He had terrible penalty, terrible drop. He's been pretty much invisible. At what point does he, show something here?
It needs to happen soon. But, again, a guy like Mike Gesicki with Miami, as soon as Gase left, he became a bona fide starting tight end. So whether or not that can happen with Herndon, we'll see. But right now, a lot of the onus is on him. He's got to make the catches when they're there. He's got to make some plays, when he does have the opportunities, even though they're limited right now. I think he does have that ability, but he's got to start showing it, and he's got to start showing it consistently.
If the Jets play with no fire tomorrow, it'll be the first time I won't be mad. And the fact that I'm saying that tells you how bad this franchise is. Listen, this team makes you numb at a certain point where they're losing. Like, I think, was it you said it, or was it you said it? Oh, Jay said it yesterday, where he was like, you know what? The Jets lost. I didn't even care anymore. Like, you're numb because they're not going anywhere. There's no glimmer of hope. There's no, you're not believing in a rebuild because you're not really seeing a rebuild this year. You're seeing them basically go backwards with a lot of guys that won't be here next year. So at some point, you're like, you know what? You get mad a little bit, like, you know what? I don't care. Change the channel. Another lost season, no playoffs, no Super Bowl, and so be it. And you get apathetic, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, on Sunday, that was the exact description I said. I was apathetic. I was numb. I didn't feel anything during the game. After the game, when everything starts to set in and you evaluate the actual, the total performance, and you're like, wow, we really are setting our young quarterback back miles from where he was as a rookie. That's where you start to get pissed off. Not for almost any other reason. The losses, I understand. I expect them. But when you're ruining your young quarterback, that's impossible not to get angry about.
This is something I think somebody started on NYSF magazine. I'm putting money on the Jets, so at least I get some cash if they win this game. So, Primetime, you're a sports betting guy. What are your thoughts on the spread and the bet here?
I mean, I think the money line is tempting, because I do think this is a game that the Jets should win, being a home dog who, I think do have a lot of players in that locker room that have some pride. But whether or not they're going to go, all out, balls to the wall to try and keep their head coach here, I think that's a different conversation. But yeah, certainly I think this is a winnable game. I'm kind of surprised that the Jets are underdogs, other than the fact that, money is probably going to be going on the Broncos just because of how bad the Jets are and how they, get portrayed in the media. But yeah, I mean, if you're putting money on the Jets, just to kind of hedge your losses, where if they lose, Adam Gase is gone, or if they win, you make some money. That's not a bad play.
We should win this game is the next comment. I mean, on paper, you look at all the matchups, you look at what the Jets are getting, the players are getting back, the offensive line is intact. You're playing against a third-string quarterback. And common sense says, especially coming on the East Coast and everything else going on, the night. I mean, the Jets should win this game. So we agree with you. It's Bob Cooter, needs to be our interim head coach and offensive coordinator. I agree with you there too. I mean, that's like the replacement of Gase can happen it can be very easily done when you have proven guys like, between Greg Williams, who's already running your defense anyway, and Bob Cooter would take over your offense. It's a very easy transition here. The only thing you're going to be missing is an arrogant play call that's not helping the quarterback.
Yeah, the only thing I don't know if I would make Jim Bob Cooter the interim and the offensive coordinator. I'd probably prefer that he just serve, as offensive coordinator, where he can dedicate all his time to, Sam Darnold and that side, and Greg Williams, he can oversee the whole thing. He's done that before. He's taken over as an interim head coach. Not that he deserves it based off of the performance of the defense this year, but I still think he's a guy that's well respected in that locker room. That's probably who you want as the voice overseeing all 53 guys.
Murphy's Law, Darnold throws for 350 and 3 touchdowns. Could you imagine? I mean, I'd like to see it. I mean, that'd be great to see because he's getting his confidence back at least.
That's where it'd be hard to get mad. Like, that's the one thing. Like, as much as we want the Jets to lose, if Darnold plays well, you can't really get mad at that. Yet that's also something that Adam Gase will say, well, see, my play calling, that's what did it.
Yeah. But then a smart owner, general manager says, listen, okay, yes, your play calling rose for the last 3 weeks, and look at the opponent. Because I guarantee you, next week, we're not going to see any of that. And you're going to come right back to reality. And the same questions we have tonight will be the same questions we have a week from, Monday. Right? I mean, exactly. I guarantee it.
Excuse me. And if some of the reports were accurate that over the last 2 weeks, like, this was the true evaluation for Adam Gase, the higher-ups were really going to hone in on these last 2 weeks. Well, he failed miserably against the Colts. And what are the expectations against a decimated Broncos team? You should win this game comfortably. So if this is a competitive game where you're trying to squeak one out late, or God forbid you actually lose, that should be all you need to know. Gase should be out.
What you need to know is when his owner put his head on the line and doubled down and gave you a vote of confidence after a fucking terrible loss, and your team didn't even show up with an 80-yard touchdown untouched. They didn't even compete against a team that was decimated by injuries, and the second-string quarterback came in and lit them up. Yep. Like, that speaks volumes. When you got a vote of confidence and your team didn't show up for you, what does that tell you?
Tells you all you need to know.
Next comment: Gase getting fired is addition by subtraction. 1,000% agree. I mean, you're helping your quarterback, you're helping your team, you're setting a ton of accountability, you're going in a different direction as best you can during the season. Let's see. Next comment. This is something we mentioned earlier. At this point, it's not a stretch to think the players may throw the game to get Gase out of here. I mean,
It depends how many players are kind of tuned in with the media and everything like that. It's hard to ignore what's being said at this point, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They know what the playbook is. They know they're going out there, I think, without much of a chance. Defenses know what to expect. So on the offensive side, I think you can see that. Defensively, it wouldn't shock me at all because I think there's a lot of players on that side that do have some pride, that do respect Greg Williams, and I think they're going to go out there and compete and try to play hard. And going up against a backup quarterback, I think that's a recipe for at least some success on defense.
Okay, now I'm gonna brace yourself with this next one, dude. All right.
Oh no.
What would you guys say if there's a 1% chance we win tomorrow night, get our starters healthy week 5, and steal the game from the Cardinals and Chargers and be 3-3? I'll go as far to say this: Ariel Rodriguez. If the Jets get to 3-3 this year, I will let you on the show and be a host for 20 minutes. The Jets go 3-3. I'm that confident that it won't happen. But if you I appreciate being a fan and having the kind of optimism and buying in. If they go 3-3, Ariel Rodriguez is coming on the show, Kevin, with us. 15 minutes, he can say whatever he wants. I don't even care.
I mean, if the Jets are fully healthy without Adam Gase coaching, it wouldn't be crazy to think they can go 3-3. But with Adam Gase here, I don't see it happening.
They're not beating the Cardinals, dude. There's no living way in hell they're beating them.
Lions just beat them.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm telling you right now, dude.
I'm just saying the Cardinals were not considered a great team entering the year. They went 2-0. Everybody elevated them very.
We couldn't even figure out Josh Allen. Can you imagine trying to figure out Kyler Murray?
Yeah. I'm not saying I think we will beat them, but I'm just saying that they're a beatable team.
3-3?
Not with Gase though.
Why win? Let's get this guy out of here as fast as possible and try to save Sam's career. That's kind of what we've been saying the whole time, man. I mean, the whole reason for this firing now is to save this offense, save this quarterback, and try to find out what you have for going forward. We're not worried about playoffs. We're about trying to find building blocks for next year. Like, what exactly do you have? Let's these players play at maximize all their talent, maximize all their abilities instead of doing things that we know that they're, just wrong.
Yeah, give him as many weeks as possible with a new voice in his ear, with his playmakers coming back, and that's a somewhat proper evaluation. Not that it should be happening mid-year, all those changes, but continuing with Gase, you're not getting any real answers with that.
Why are we acting like Jim Bob Cooter is so good? Yes, it's a different voice, but I don't see the product improving much on the field. Maybe that Sam Darnold will get the one-on-one attention he needs. Maybe he'll be more of a quarterback coach. Maybe it's just anything, more accountability, better offense. Make change your game plan, change your scheme, put receivers in different situations, up tempo, roll them out of the pocket. I mean, there's so many different things that they could try that Adam Gase refuses to do. That hopefully Jim Bob Cooter can actually do.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think anybody's trying to portray Jim Bob Cooter as the savior or the future coach of the Jets. But for the next 12 games, again, just having a different voice in Sam's ear, somebody who's actually had some success with Stafford and the Lions and that offense, why the hell not? Yep. We're seeing the results with Gase. It's not going to change. Sam's not going to magically start lighting it up under Adam Gase. It's not going to happen. Just cut the cord now.
I honestly hope we get blown out tomorrow so Adam Gase can just go. I mean, that seems a lot of we all kind of all in the same boat. It's just.
Has there been one comment that supports Adam Gase that wants to see the Jets win? I mean, like I'm asking legitimately, just because I've never seen anything like this unanimous on a head coach, GM, quarterback, like anything. Everybody wants him out.
Only Christopher Johnson or Woody Johnson will fire Gase. That's true, but Joe Douglas can use his influence as general manager and a guy that took a 6-year contract and brought in his front office to say, "Listen, this guy's not cutting it."
What the fuck would Chris Johnson or Woody Johnson do if Joe Douglas went to the media and threw Adam Gase under the bus? They're going to back Adam Gase and not Joe Douglas? Bullshit. So that's why this is on Joe Douglas to an extent, because he has the opportunity to separate himself from it. He controls his own words. He can speak to the media. He can separate from what's going on. He can separate from a losing culture. Until he does that, he's going to be a part of the problem. He's going to be viewed as that. It may not be reality, but he's going to be viewed as a part of the Adam Gase regime.
Yep. Would you fire Williams also if the D sucks again? Honestly, I get who do you think would be the head coach if Gase gets fired? Do you think it's Cooter or do you think it's Williams?
I think it's probably Williams, just because he's been the interim coach before. He took over with the Browns, and Mayfield did some good things that year. So I think that would just probably make more sense. I think he is respected in that locker room. And yeah, I think Jim Bob Cooter, you'd want to devote all his time to Sam and the offense. Yeah,
that's an interesting one. But I mean, the Greg Williams defense has been such a disappointment this year on so many different levels.
Yep.
Do you think we need to change our defensive line with some young practice squad guys? And when are we bringing back Burgess? Dude, the defensive line is supposed to be the strength of this fucking team. Like, what happened to Nathan Shepard? What happened to McClendon? What happened to Quentin Williams? What happened to Henry Anderson? Like, we went through this. Our whole season preview was about the defensive line, the strength of the defense. Like, that's going to set the tone. Establish the line of scrimmage and let the linebackers make plays and fly around and do all these things. The defensive line's been an embarrassment. Quentin Williams had one good game.
And the sad thing is, at the very least, we thought they were going to be solid against the run. I think they finished last year second against the run. And even that this year, the arm tackles, especially against the Bills, it was just awful. Even the Niners, the 80-yard touchdown run untouched, like that didn't happen last year against the run. We got beat badly against the pass in a lot of games, but we were stout against the run, that front seven. Yep. So I don't know what the hell has happened this year.
What happened to all the rookies? Hall, Jabari, Clark, the free agent? I mean,
Totally forgot about Patrick Owasu.
That was a guy that we were kind of high on because he's a blitzing guy, linebacker that played well with the Ravens. But this draft class, man, is one that was kind of highly touted and everybody praised them all. We don't know what the hell we had because they're all hurt. Hopefully, some of these guys get back on the field by midseason. But even then, if you miss training camp, you miss that, just to throw them into the NFL and say, "Hey, here you go, boys, start playing." It's just, man. You look at. I was talking to a friend of mine at work today. He's a big Giants fan. He's like, "Oh, the Giants suck this," and they all like, dude, do you understand what Jets fans deal with, man? I'm like, the highest, our peak season is the off season because we will justify every free agent. We love our draft class. We got steals, diamonds in the rough, all this stuff, and now this highly touted draft class that we sold ourselves on, none of them are even playing. Like Denzel Mims, we were celebrating getting Denzel Mims. We were like just stoked to have him, not even playing. Bryce Hall, not playing. Like all these guys, dude. It's like, thank God Becton's at least staying healthy for the most part, and he can still play because
even Ashton Davis now. This was a golden opportunity for him once he traded Jamal Adams.
He's out again
tomorrow. Hasn't really done anything. Yeah, he's not even playing.
And when he was healthy, he wasn't playing either. They barely played week 1 and week 2.
Yeah.
Next comment: how sick will we all feel if the Jets win and Johnson comes out on Friday and triple downs? Oh, Eileen, I will. Eileen, I'll tell you this. If that happens, tune into this channel. Please, I promise you. It will be worse than the last time we went through this.
As dumb as he is, he can't There's no way after one win Thursday night against the Broncos and that team to come out. He knows he would look like a bigger jackass trying to justify that win. As,
he gave us an I told you so. It means like I told you so. We're bouncing back. We're going in the right direction. Could you imagine?
He can't.
I'd be out of my mind. Let's see. The Ryan Griffin drop and Douglas re-signed this guy. Douglas is a joke. You look at like just even like a little touch in the matchups for tomorrow night. Like every matchup we go into, we're like, oh, get Griffin and Herndon involved. Well, Griffin looks like he's a shell of himself. That drop last week was horrendous. He's been invisible. Herndon's been invisible. Wesco hasn't done shit. Like the tight end position just been a complete they're ghost. Like I don't know how that's even possible.
That's the Gase offense. They do not utilize the tight end. They like to use old running back by committee. I mean, that's par for the course, unfortunately.
Williams might be sucking because he thinks he will get the head coach job when Gase is fired. Not the first time he has done that. Interesting
comment.
I mean, at some point he's got to realize that the Gase, Greg Williams got to realize that Gase is going to get fired, and he's not going to be long for the New York Jets. Like he's not going to be here next year. Yeah. So he could be in survival mode, like get ready to point fingers. Like I'm surprised there's not more rumblings now from Greg Williams saying, "Hey, you know what? This coach and his offense is killing us." Like, but his defense has been so bad, he probably can't say anything.
Exactly. With how bad the defense has been, he can't open his mouth. Last year he could have. Said some stuff, but this year you can't because the defense has been equally as bad as the offense. I just don't think he's trying to lose intentionally, with the idea that he's going to be the next head coach in the back of his mind. I just don't think that's the type of coach that he is.
Yeah. So, could you imagine, dude? You look at the situation we're in right now. It's so embarrassing. Like we're talking about like the one coach we all loved coming into the season was Greg Williams. Him and Brant Boyer we're all kind of excited about, and it's like even the defense has gone to shit.
Could Brant Boyer be a head coach? I mean, the Giants went with Joe Judge, who was an all special teams guy. I'm just throwing it out there.
If they win, what's worse, Gase staying as head coach or losing ground for number one pick? Both. I mean,
no. What? Wait, what?
If they win, what's worse? Gase staying is bad, and then you can't get number one pick too. You're losing ground. Because then the Broncos got a game on you.
I don't care about the number one pick if Sam Darnold plays well. If Sam Darnold plays well, I don't care about the number one pick. Gase staying is the obvious worst case scenario because that's setting your franchise back. Every week that he's here is setting your franchise back. So,
next comment. I just think Douglas wants leaders. Ironic though, because we have none, and that's more than obvious right now. There's not an ounce of leadership on this team when they're not competing week in and week out.
And who was the biggest leader on the field last year?
Jamal Adams.
Easily. So
I think also probably not having, I think CJ Mosley behind the scenes is probably an influence too. Not having him around probably hurts too. But all these other guys that we gave a lot of credit for, like McClendon and all the Jordan Jenkins and Brian Poole and Le'Veon Bell and all these guys, giving them credit. And now it's just, dude, to be honest with you, I think they all realize they don't buy in. Yeah. Like the things that Jamal Adams said, like they know he's not the coach to lead them to winning football. At some point, like when you first come to the Jets, okay, new coach, first year, you buy in, you give your max effort. Then in the offseason, you see how they handle things, how they manage things, their planning going forward. They're probably like, dude, this is never going to work. Yep. And they don't buy it. And they do enough to get by, but not enough to win.
And the players talk, we've been talking about, Brandon Shell's comments and Kelvin Beachum, Osemele. You don't think that some of the guys in the locker room now, still talk to those guys? Like, we know what's being said. We know how these players feel, how they feel about the leadership in that room. And I get it. Like, some of the guys need to step up a little bit, but it's hard when you're not producing. It's hard when you don't have a chance. And when you're going out there without a chance. How do you lead? I don't know.
Too bad they're going to lose and Gase still won't get fired. That would be the typical same old Jets, and that'll exemplify why the ownership is the biggest problem on this team. If the Jets lose tomorrow night and Gase isn't fired on Friday, that just shows you how incompetent the owners are, and this will never change anytime soon. Period. That's it. I was concerned early in the season with the one-year signings. Now it's starting to show why. Well, I mean, I don't like the one-year signings to me is kind of it makes you try to earn your next contract. Like you have a prove it deal. You're going to prove it in New York, or you're going to prove it for somebody else, so you can get to play somewhere else.
But at the same time, like, what's more important? Taking all these one-year risks on guys that may be here, may not, or actually trying to get legitimate building blocks in place.
Oh, dude, you heard me, dude. When they signed Jordan Jenkins back at the cheap deal, I'm like, I wish you got a 3-year deal. Or Brian Poole, like guys that you kind of value, like when you got really good value on them, 2 or 3 year deals. So you don't go into next season with the same amount of holes we have this year, if not more.
Yep.
So, that's Becton is the Jets' best player. Probably right. They're probably right.
At this point, absolutely.
We went for some score predictions now. Broncos 14-3. Could you imagine? The Jets score 3 points tomorrow night.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness. I couldn't even imagine.
I don't know if I'll be going into work on Friday morning.
Anyone think it's ironic when Peyton Manning came out of college, he refused to play for the Jets, but yet he endorsed Gase as the head coach for the Jets? Yeah, thanks, Peyton. Well, I think that whole thing is because Parcells wouldn't guarantee he was going to take him first. Parcells was playing the game. I remember I actually sat in my car and listened to the press conference to hear Peyton say he was going to stay. So that's just disaster.
Typical Jets.
Let's see. Jets have done to Sam Darnold exactly what the Browns did to Tim Couch, Texans did to David Carr, and the 49ers did to Alex Smith. Can't argue with that.
Pretty much.
I mean, this is good.
No, I'm just saying, at least for Alex Smith, he proved that a young quarterback who gets off to a rocky start in his career, he could still be salvaged. He could still be saved if you put the right people around him, in particular, the head coach. Once Harbaugh got there, his career took off. So, the idea that Sam can't be saved, his career is ruined at age 23, I think that's ridiculous to be saying at this point.
Interim head coach has nothing to lose and can find out what we have in Darnold this season. Completely agree.
Yep.
I 1,000% agree. This can't be. Darnold isn't the only player whose confidence is being undermined by bad coaching. Gore is being asked to do the impossible. I mean,
that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, when you're running Gore 3 times in a row, it's like, come on, man. Like, this is just, it's just the way he uses personnel, the way he called the play calls, and how he justifies it. Like, the fact that he could justify it with a straight face. I mean, he's like a used car salesman.
See, like, if this was like a 2010 season with LaDainian Tomlinson towards the end of his career, you say fine. Veteran running back, no issue at all. Yet when you're in complete rebuild mode, trying to find pieces long term, using any amount of carries on Frank Gore instead of Josh Adams, instead of P. Ryan, what the fuck are we doing?
Want to get some easy cash? Bet Braden Mann will have the most yards in the game. No shade to Sam. I mean, can you imagine a punting battle tomorrow night? Could you even imagine?
There might be a prop bet on like over under total punts. If there is, I'm probably going to take that.
The Gase hire will go down as the worst hire in the history of this franchise. Anyone with a brain in their skull saw this coming. I can't believe Jets brass sincerely thought he was the right choice. Funny you say this, Paul, because when the Jets hired this guy, me, Primetime, and our other host at the time were all highly against this. And we were called negative, we were called idiots, and we were given all these speeches about how Gase is an innovator. He can maximize Sam Darnold. He never had a quarterback like Sam Darnold before. We got to stop being the same old miserable fans. Remember all those shows that we were getting attacked?
Yep.
Those people are all on gone now. Those people are all in hiding now. They probably deleted their tweets, deleted their accounts. They're not, I mean, I know they are. I remember most of these people, but it's just.
The funny thing is that, like, I hated the hire.
Manish and his fucking story. Remember Manish's story about the Jets got the right guy?
At the very least, though, he owned that, and I think for a lot of fans, we hated the hire, yet we were willing to give it a chance, because we realized, like, okay, what do we know about football? Obviously, a lot more than Chris Johnson does, clearly.
We were forced to embrace it because we had no choice. He was hired.
Exactly. And I think a majority of fans at least tried to. They entered last season with an open mind. There wasn't this type of negativity as we started last year. It wasn't until we saw all of the same signs from Miami come over. We saw our young quarterback regressing. We saw star players getting alienated. We saw the double-digit losses. All of it. It happened again.
We saw him quitting his play calling.
Yep.
Perfect scenario. Jets win and still fire Gase. I mean, that would be the perfect thing.
I'm fine with that.
Chris Johnson is the only owner to give a vote of confidence after the first game. Moron. Yeah, I mean that set me off. I've tried because I know Primetime here tries to keep me calm most of the time, and I try not to get all crazy. And last night I got crazy again. This team drives me insane now because we want to rebuild, and we want, like, right now we know going into next year is not going to be a pretty year either because we're going to have so many new pieces, a new coach, all these things. Like, we got to do a monumental rebuild there because we have so little talent. And what little talent we have here, we don't know what they even are because they're either hurt or not being coached properly. And it's frustrating because you watch the rest of the NFL and we're not even in the same league. We're like in the CFL right now. We're not even in the NFL. Like we're so far removed from competitive football that it's so hard. And to have this coach, to have the owner do that,
And that's why you got to make the change as soon as possible. Stop throwing away games. Stop throwing away reps for your young quarterback where he could be getting better. Give him a real chance over these last 12, 13 weeks, whatever it is.
Jets fan for 45 years, and now for once I'm pulling for a loss. I mean, if the loss guarantees him getting fired, I understand that.
Is there anybody that wants to see a win in Adam Gase stay? Like anyone?
No. This is a great comment too.
Anything this unanimous? It's crazy.
The press conference where he was high something should have gave you clue who's going to suck. Crazy eyes. You know what's funny? Prime time. Like I hated the Gase hire, and I was so disgusted. But I'm like, you know what? It's his press conference. Maybe he'll give us this like a Rex Ryan kind of press conference. Like, you know what? I'm going to buy into this. And he sits down, and I'm like, what in the living fuck is going on? Like, what are we watching here? I'm waiting for the lead to get busted for being on like some kind of illegal substance or something like that. I'm like, this is our leader. Like, he's going to sit in front of our team, and 53 guys are going to listen to him talk and buy into his bullshit when he's doing this. Oh my God!
I lost it during the press conference, but then once all the memes started coming out, and then
the little tacos going by his eyes,
exactly. With the Titanic song playing in the background, I'm like, yep, here we go. This is going to be a fun ride.
All right, so if you guys have some score predictions, fire them out. We got Jets 14-3. I could see that. Oh, here we go. Now we're getting crazy. If the Jets go 8-3, then can I be on the show for an hour? Sure, man. You got it. Not even a problem. I feel confident that prime time.
8-3, you can host a full 2 hours. 8-3, fuck out of here.
Anybody that has ever worked in a corporate environment knows that ownership and or upper management will never say that they missed the mark with Gase. Well, then that's not true at all. Like that's not remotely true.
Football and corporate environment completely different. I think fans would have a lot of respect. Even at this point, as much as we realize he's late to, realize he made a mistake, still at this point, Friday morning, you come out and you say, I fucked up. I made the wrong decision. I should have never listened to Peyton Manning. I should have seen what all the fans and analysts saw at the end of last year. Just own your mistake. Fans will buy into the next guy and they'll forgive it.
Yeah,
but the longer you keep dragging this out, we're going to.
Yeah, whenever you make some kind of management change, you always got to own, and this, especially when it's epically bad, where the guy you hired has put your organization going in the wrong direction. You admit your mistake, which gives you respect and credibility. You own it and you move forward. That's how you handle business. Yeah. You admit mistakes. That's to ignore it and be like, oh, it's just a mutual parting of ways. Get the fuck out of it. Nobody's going to believe you. You look even stupider than you do now. Let's see. Thanks, guys, for the show. We appreciate you keeping it real. Listen, man, if anything you guys are going to learn is we'll keep it real. We may not always be right. It may not make a lot of sense sometimes, but we try to keep it real. Let's see here. Josh Allen's better than Kyler Murray. I mean, Josh Allen's playing some serious football right now. He is doing it all. And the thing is, the one thing about Josh Allen as compared to Sam Darnold, which has been debates for on and on, is the level of confidence he's playing with, the leadership he's bringing to the field, his swagger, everything he's doing is so infectious. And then you look at where Sam is now, where they didn't build around him. He's demoralized, defeated. Like, you could not be more opposite right now because he's in a great situation and Sam is in arguably the worst situation. And it's amazing.
And what was the conversation on both of these guys after year one? Josh Allen was playing like shit. He was inaccurate. Yep. He was missing on deep balls, throwing interceptions, turning it over. He was a shell. He was basically what Sam Darnold is right now.
Yep.
I mean, if we're being honest. And so the fact that they were able to coach him up the right way, get pieces around him, prioritize wide receivers, gave up a first for Diggs, took 2 receivers.
Build the offense around him.
Exactly. Cater the offense to what he does well, letting him run the ball. That's exactly how you build up a young quarterback. You build up his confidence, and we're just taking Sam in the complete opposite direction, which is why, again, I'm going to hold him accountable for bad throws and bad plays, but, the idea of throwing him under the bus when we've done nothing to help him out, I can't do that.
If the Jets win tomorrow, Johnson is going to drink the Kool-Aid, just like the fans who drank the Kool-Aid when this team went 6-2 to finish last season. One giant smokescreen. I 1,000% agree. That would be the most embarrassing, press conference or conference on Friday. They start talking about, overcoming adversity and rally the troops and all this stuff. When you're looking at who you're beating a bad team with a third-string quarterback. I mean, to take any bows on Friday would be the most epically bad decision this team can make. Almost as bad as celebrating winning Week 17 last year, which was even just as gross.
Yeah, if the Jets win tomorrow, the Johnsons can't come out on Friday and try to give another vote of confidence and justify it. That would just look even stupider. So I agree.
Next comment is our defense has been just as bad as the offense, even with Gase gone. I don't see us winning more than 3 games, but I think in theory, what you want to see is you want to see a lot more fire, a lot more competitive efforts, maybe some innovative play calling, just a different look than you have now. Because right now they're not even competitive, and the game plans are horrendous. Some of the statistics coming out now about how they run the ball on 2nd and long and all these different things. And hopefully that all changes. Like you can see what you have on your team. Like maybe you can actually feature your tight ends. Like try to see what you have in Herndon. See what you have in, in whatever, Griffin or the receivers or whoever the hell it is.
Yeah, it's really hard when you look at the schedule to try and come up with more than 3 wins for the Jets. The talent this year is just different than last year. I mean, they're facing much better quarterbacks. You got to go at KC, at Seattle. Not to mention the division games you still have on tap. Against the Patriots. So this is going to be a challenge. Again, even if they do win 3 games, what does that prove? 3-4 games. I mean, nothing changes.
Why is Douglas so praised because he has ties with Newsom? Imagine praising Patricia because he came from the Belichick tree. Listen, I'll keep saying it. Joe Douglas has a lot to prove. He made some good trades. The Leonard Williams trade was good. The Jamal Adams trade, the timing of it was awful. Yeah. I still think, but I mean, the value he got was good. This draft class, we have absolutely no idea what they are. Becton, the early signs of Becton is he could be a franchise left tackle, which is good. The rest of the draft class is all hurt. His free agent signings, he didn't really break the bank on anybody, so we don't know. Like his test, honestly, will be next year prime time when he's got all these draft picks and all his cap space. Can he sign the prominent free agents? What coach is he going to hire? Like all these things, that's when you really learn what Joe Douglas is next year.
Yeah, absolutely. The head coaching hire, I think, is going to be the big one. If you trusted McCagnon enough to, lead a head coaching search and, kind of put all that together, you would think Joe Douglas and his football background would be enough to, be the guy that you kind of look to for this head coaching hire. He'd want to bring in somebody, obviously, that he can work with. So that would make sense. Let him pick his head coach. Let him use all these draft picks, the money that he didn't spend this year that I guess he was putting off towards next year. Okay, what are you going to do with it now? Obviously, so yes, the true test for him is next year. Doesn't mean he gets a pass for everything he's done in the first year and a half. But yeah, the true evaluation for him starts, with, the next 2 years, really, with the Jamal Adams draft picks and all that, where, he should be building a foundation here.
Can we fire the O-line coach and the trainers too? Well, the O-line coach
last year.
The O-line coach had been fired last year. This year, the line's actually playing a little bit better, and Becton actually helps that. The trainers, this is Gase's guys now. Yep. But the thing is, these injuries are following him from Miami to here, so it's got to be the program. It's got to be the routine. There's a lot more to it. That's
the program, the routine, or guys just not wanting to play for him. It's some combination of that. Because, yeah, like you said, these are new trainers. These are guys that Gase brought in. The guys that he inherited last year that were actually a part of the Jets organization for about 15 years that a lot of, respected veterans had no issue with. Well, he pushed those guys out the door because he had players hurt. Well, now we've had more injuries this year. So what does that tell you?
Ficken and Mann are MVPs. Probably that. I guess them and probably maybe Becton is whatever. Could you imagine this score comes up? 3-0 Broncos. Can you imagine we sat through a 3-0 or a 3-3 game tomorrow night, ends in a tie?
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
I can't wait for that show.
Oh my goodness. So good. Broncos 10, Jets 7, a prediction here. This is kind of what I think. Broncos down at the half. Bortles comes in and leads them to victory. That's kind of what I feel too. I had this funny feeling that Rippon's not going to be ready to play. He's going to be in over his head. He's just going to – Greg Williams is going to beat the shit out of him, and Bortles gets in the game. I think the Broncos aren't really high on Driscoll, and they're not playing Bortles because they think he's not – doesn't know the playbook enough, but he's a veteran quarterback. I mean,
I was going to say, he might not know the playbook, but he knows Greg Williams' defense because he shredded it last year. So I think that would be enough reason to put him in there if they're struggling.
Broncos 31, Jets 10. That'll get Gase fired in theory. So
should.
You would hope. This is an interesting one. Fire Gase and make Hines Ward the interim coach. He'll revamp the wide receivers.
You can't make Hines Ward an interim head coach when he's been what? How long has he been here? For 2 years coaching wide receivers? I mean, his coaching experience is very limited. So I think that would be way too much on his shoulders.
Jets win a shit show of a game, 16-6. Gase retains his job for one more week, which is embarrassing. That's exactly what you don't want. Yeah, that's.
If it's going to be a week-to-week thing, you're basically admitting that it's just a matter of time before he's actually fired. Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off.
Should did it on Monday.
Yep.
Broncos 10, Jets 10. We ended a tie. Could you imagine, man? Let's see. Other comments. Let's go Broncos. Let's imagine losing to a practice squad by 30 points. Well, I mean, the 49ers were pretty much there, weren't they?
Yeah.
The 49ers were, I mean, the Giants did too, but I mean, let's see. A lot of practice squads coming. Nightmare scenario. Jets are down by 30 plus with less than 2 minutes. Gase keeps saving the game and he gets hurt. Well, now, see, no, that won't actually happen because once the Jets get blown out by that much, Gase quits. So he'll probably just run the ball a lot because he doesn't show any fight. Once his team is down by double digits, he gives up. His play calling goes right to shit.
And that's what's amazing. Like for all the stats that we're, in the bottom of the league how are we in the bottom of the league in passing yards when we've been down double digits entering the second half of every game? How are we not throwing the ball and just putting up some yards? I understand all the wide receivers that are hurt, but you should be throwing almost every play trying to get back in the game in the second half. Yet we're still trying to establish Frank Gore in the running game.
Yep. Denver 17, Jets 3. We saw a comment. I just passed by it by accident, but the person said, I'm going to go back to it because I'm just going to roast this one because there's no. Here it is. Gase wasn't as bad as Kotite. I'm going to tell you that he is, and he is worse for a variety of reasons because I was, unfortunately, a season ticket holder for these 2 seasons, and I sat through 8 home losses. And Kotite was bad, and this team was out of shape. They always gassed in the fourth quarter, dumb mistakes, dumb play calling, all this stuff. The problem with Gase is he was hired here to help Sam Darnold. So not only bad, he's actually destroying your franchise quarterback, which is setting your organization back even further. Like Kotite was bad, but Parcells came in the next year, cleaned things up, and they started winning football games. Gase is setting you back years. Like you're what? Prime time, how many years we lost because of this? 2 years at least?
More than that.
Back at least 2 years because not only is he losing, we can't evaluate talent because we don't know what we have. And then we're losing players. Jamal Adams, Robbie Anderson, all the other guys that have left because of Gase. I mean, the aftermath of him is far worse than Kotite.
Yeah, and especially Sam Darnold. If we end up moving on from him at the end of the year, taking another quarterback, that's literally starting the whole rebuild process all over again. So I think it's night and day when you talk about ruining a young franchise quarterback compared to what Kotite did. Where yes, he had some talented teams, he had some young talented players on that defense. And we saw what Bill Parcells was able to do with a similar unit. But I mean, it's night and day with what Gase is doing here. The lack of respect that he has from these players, the lack of game plan, the double-digit losses, all of it, dude. It's
yep. A loss is a win. That's the next comment. I mean, that's pretty much that's one way you can look at it, man. I mean, that's kind of you kind of look at it that way.
Yep.
47-3, and we see Sam curse Gase out the sidelines. What? I'm not gonna lie to you. I wouldn't mind seeing Sam Darnold have some passion and pride and come out and just start throwing his helmet and getting pissed off, like whatever, just like we understand he's frustrated. You see the tapping on the hill, like my bad, I made a mistake. But like at some point, just unload that emotion that we all want to see out of him. We saw it last year. He got in his face last year on the sideline.
Yep. But
now you're getting to that point, and you know what? It'll help his teammates support him too, man. Like, all right, this is our leader. We got his back. Like something, just get that out of his system a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough for a young quarterback because I think he's kind of torn. He's not that kind of guy that's going to speak out against the team or his head coach. He's going to be a company guy. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of Gase guys here, but you need to separate from it. It's clear, I think, that there's enough guys in that locker room that don't respect Adam Gase. And if you want to be respected, you want to be the guy that people look up to, separate from it.
Yeah, so we're going to do a couple more here. Then we'll start going to some score predictions here. So this is just, oh my goodness. Who punts more in this game? I don't even want to think about that. Could you imagine just a punt fest? Like a 9-6 like shit show?
Probably will be.
It could be. It could very well be. Let's see here. All right, prime time. I guess we'll do I guess we got to do some kind of X's and O's here, kind of some kind of like our game preview, how we think this is all going to play out.
All right, well, I'm going to echo a lot of the comments. I think it's going to be a relatively low-scoring game. Backup quarterback for the Broncos, a lot of injuries. Courtland Sutton's out. Their second right tackle's out. Also, no Von Miller, which should help our Jets offense. But, we're still banged up. We're still trying to find our identity. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a game where both coaches play it relatively conservatively. They try to establish the ground game. They try to win, time of possession, things like that. It's going to be a close game. I do think the Jets pull it out. I'm going to go 17-13. Something like that. Again, low-scoring game, not really a whole lot of action, nothing to really take from it. Gase should still be fired after it.
Yeah, and don't forget, tomorrow night, I don't think we're going to wait an hour after the game. I think we're probably going to go live right after the game because I can't stay up till fucking 1 o'clock in the morning to do this shit. So we will be on right after the game, doing probably an hour show, recapping whatever they think is going to happen. Listen, man, a third-string quarterback, all the injuries. We went through the list that Ben Albright gave, no Von Miller. They're so banged up everywhere. They've lost so many quality players. Short week, coming to New Jersey. And I just think the Jets just basically have the players, but the offensive line's back intact. Crowder's back. I think they find a way to win this game. I mean, I hate even saying it, but I can see like a 17-10, 17-14, some kind of shit. I think it'll be close. In the fourth quarter, we'll be like, oh my God, what's going on here? And I think it happens. I fear that it's going to happen, and I fear the aftermath of it happening. I don't understand why the spread is the way it is. I understand you broke down the way the money's being spent, but if you look at all the different things, the Jets should win this game. They're the home team. They're much healthier than the Broncos. They have their quarterback, whether you like him or not at this point. Sam Darnold should find ways to make plays. Greg Williams' defense should tee off on this kid that should never have seen half his blitzes. Marcus May should have a big game. Quentin Williams should have a big game. Like, a lot of things should really happen here. And that's not even – and I want Gase fired, but that's kind of what should happen. What is Dan saying? Please do the show during the game. You're way more interesting. Could you imagine? I don't know how people do that. I saw somebody did like they did a live stream through the whole game. Like, how do you even enjoy the game that way?
I don't know.
But I mean, honestly, I'm thinking the Jets are going to win by 3, 17-14, in that 20-17, something like that. A part of me thinks Blake Bortles will be in this game and make it a little more interesting than it should be. But I mean, the Jets should win. And then if this owner had any spine, he would say, you know what, the team rallied for their coach, but I need to go in a different direction to get my team where I want it to be from Saturday going forward. And that's kind of it. So. I guess that's it. What we want to do is want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We definitely appreciate it. We'll be live after the game tomorrow night, Friday night, when we sober up and get some sleep. We'll be back on Friday night talking more about this nonsense. And that's it. So prime time, good seeing you, man.
Yep, you too, man. Good talking to you.